So we're here to solve the statue park puzzle by Jonas Gleim called Dice Pips. It's got a really elegant theme with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the shapes of the black circles and only black circles for the statue park. This 5 on the edge pins a single cell, which has to be part of a pentomino shape, and in doing that we now can't join out to these other elements. We have to form a Y pentomino. This black circle now has to grow down, but it can't isolate this part of the grid, so it comes over here. It can't extend to make too large a shape, so it becomes a V. This black comes over. It's now going to be forming these shapes. This can't come down here and join to this because it would form another V, so it's got to come across. If I took this cell, notice I'm forming 2 I's in the grid, so this isn't taken. This comes down, but it's not going to form another V. It forms an N. This comes across, we get this as an I, and this is a good start to the puzzle. Let's now just mark in our inventory. We have the Y, we have the V, we have the I and the N in the grid. The next thing to probably look at are going to be some of these different runs. So these 3 in a row, we have one large shape left, which is this L. But we also have a cell like this one here that can't grow out to be something like a V, so it only is going to take one, but not both of these cells to left or top of it. And in taking a cell like this, it can grow out to be an L, or you might see it can look like it grow to a Y, but Y is already in the grid, and this would pin this thing over. If we look in the other direction, this has the same story. It's going to take 4 cells and become an L, not a Y. So L is coming out from this cell. And that means there's no longer another pentomino that's going to be as many as 4 long. So this 6 dice pip is going to have these 3 grow out to be another shape. This won't grow out to be a V. It's already in the grid. It can take this cell, but always has to take this cell. Once it takes this, it's not another V, not another N. So this quickly forces to be a P. If this cell were used and joined to this, would be another N, so that's not used. If we don't take this cell, we form another P down here. That's no good. We don't take this cell for a P, this for a V, or this for an N. They're already in grid, so this is a U. So we identify those central spots, which help us pretty quickly. We now come back, I think, over here, where we know that we've got an L placed, and think about, again, where there's enough room for this to go. In all situations, this cell is unused, and on the top option where this forms this L, what we actually are going to have is a whole set of things coming down, which is forcing a pentomino on this right border that's not actually available anymore. There's no longer a pentomino with that long length in the grid. And so you have to observe that the L is going to be coming down the right column. These are not then used, which means these 2 black dots in the 10th column are going to be through the same pentomino shape. It's not this U, so it will have to take this cell. It's now not a P, it's not a U, it's not an N, it doesn't come down here. The only shape I see that works is to put in a T. And so we'll put that into the grid and get these cells left. We've got 4 tetrominos to go, F, W, Z, and X. All of those are going to immediately bend after 2 in a row in a 3x3 bounding box, and so this can come down to here. Connectivity requires this cell to be white, which means that the only shape that this option can be is a W. Connectivity requires taking this cell. This will have to come down, and again in a 3x3 bounding box will join here, but it's not a W. This is forced to be a Z. So we've got all those shapes comfortably placed. We now are left with just the F and the X. This can't be part of an X because the 2 that are available to it would both isolate parts of the grid. So this is part of an F. And notice it can't reach down to this bottommost row because then however that comes together, it would isolate part of the grid. So the 3x3 bounding box for this has to reach up to this row, and so must take this cell. This comes down, and so the F has to be this shape to work out. That means there's no room over on the left here for this X. The X can't be taking this cell up here, so it's gotta somehow fit into this row where it has just enough space to still let whites get around it, and this is the final solution of the puzzle. So a really elegant visual theme and a really fun solve. It had some quick pentominoes out from the start, but then had a key observation about where the L goes from the cell that let us place the U and P, work back into the shape, and then place the last around the grid. So hopefully you got something through this logical solving video, and we'll see you again soon.